I think that there was a failure at every line of defense.
A billion-dollar road project sunk by heavy rain and neighborhoods overwhelmed by water.
We had lakefront property here for a few minutes. It's just a complete and utter mess.
Now officials are putting pressure on the city to prevent this from happening again.
These are situations that should not happen so soon after these projects are completed.
Plus, a community still in shock after a tragic accident kills 2 teenagers.
We all are connected and our kids are connected. It's just a close-knit community.
Tonight, neighbors rallying behind their own and showing support where it's needed.
I never in my wildest dreams thought this community would just be so generous.
Failed equipment being blamed for the I-70 disaster Sunday evening. CDOT says they're investigating what happened after drainage pumps failed to activate during flash flooding. Thank you for watching Denver 7 News at 6. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us. And today we're hearing from the lead contractor on the Central I-70 project who says equipment failure is behind Sunday's flooding. In a statement from Kiewit, they say, quote, an error in the drainage pump system appears to have prevented the pumps from turning on automatically. It goes on to say once this was determined, Kiewit turned the pumps on manually. And after the pumps turned on, the area was drained in a short period of time, indicating that the pumps, once manually started, were working as intended and the error was corrected.
Okay, Kiewit went on to say the drainage system there is currently being worked on, but they're confident it will work once completed. Right now, they say they are putting in processes to make sure those pumps located between Brighton Boulevard and York Street function properly during heavy rain.
And the redesign of City Park Golf Course also appears to have failed in some aspects of flood mitigation.
And that's where we find Denver 7's Russell Haythorne tonight. Russell, the golf course is supposed to act as a huge retention pond during significant rain events.
Right, Jacqueline, and theoretically that would keep the water off the roadways and out of neighboring yards. But check it out, all of this mud and debris is related to a major flooding event. It didn't take long after this downpour for Colorado Boulevard to be fully submerged.
It looked like you were on the seashore.
Drivers capturing the floodwaters with video as homeowners snapped photos of cars and buses trying to press through.
When cars would drive by and there were just waves kind of lapping up like crazy, it was just a complete and utter mess.
The city of Denver recently spent roughly $40 million on renovations to City Park Golf Course, which included flood retention ponds. The course is supposed to take on water so that neighboring houses and streets do not.
What we predicted would happen happened. It didn't work.
Councilwoman Candy Cidabaca says she's furious given the city and state spent billions of taxpayer funds on City Park and Central 70 to prevent flooding, and both flooded.
There were several mitigation projects that were designed specifically to prevent the flooding, and every single one of them is done. And we had flooding, and it wasn't even a 100-year flood. I think that there was a failure at every line of defense.
It was pretty crazy.
Resident Leland Laird agrees with Cidabaca about the failure, but is more forgiving about the situation.
It clearly didn't work. You know, given the extremes of weather we have here in Denver, there's just a limit, I think, perhaps to what you can do. And that's what I think we ran up against. In this case, there was an enormous amount of hail that came down first and filled the sewers, and then after that, the rain just kept coming and coming and coming, and it had nowhere to go.
These are situations that should not happen so soon after these projects are completed, and I am going to continue sounding the alarm.
Cidabaca also says she's been asking for more funding related to flooding at 38th and Walnut, which also flooded again last night. There were rescues there as well. We'll keep you posted on whether any changes come out of City Council related to last night's flooding. For now, we're live at City Park Golf Course. Russell Haythorne, back to you guys.
Sounding the alarm. Thank you, Russell. And all in all, 29 people had to be rescued from Sunday night's flooding. Witnesses are describing the firefighters rescuing trapped children as the definition of heroes.
Me and my brother, we just stopped and pulled over. Like, what did we do? What did we freaked out? But they didn't. They went into the water in a heartbeat. They didn't hesitate. And that's what a true hero is.
Eli Espinoza tells me he shot this incredible video on his cell phone yesterday showing firefighters walking into the floodwater that had stranded several cars in this minivan at 38th and Blake last night. Now, one of those cars, as you saw, was a minivan filled with children. Denver firefighters immediately went in after them. One fighter can be seen here carrying 2 children on his shoulders, walking backwards because he has on fins. Another firefighter here rescues a newborn baby. Denver Fire Water Rescue members say this is what they train for every Sunday. How strong do you have to be to hold a child in each arm and then walk through deep water?
You know, there's strength that's involved. You know, we make it part of our daily routine and making sure that we're getting our exercise in, making sure that we're physically fit. It's a demanding career to be in the fire service. There's also a bit of adrenaline going when you're in that cold water and you're asked to move those 2 kids out.
Yeah, they say that water was freezing, and they tell me the most amazing thing was the citizens who helped rescue people yesterday. As far as the incredible video of their heroism, they say they have been getting calls from all over the world to talk about these rescues.
Wow, that is something. And coming up in about 10 minutes, Mike Nelson will tell us when we can expect things to dry out. Now, in the meantime, you can keep up with the latest news and weather anytime or on demand with the Denver 7 Plus app, free on all your streaming devices.
The Colorado Springs Police Department says the suspect wanted in the death of an El Paso County deputy over the weekend was found dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound this afternoon. The procession was held today for 37-year-old Deputy Andrew Peary, who was killed after responding to a shooting in Security Sunday night. Deputy Peary had been with the department for 6 years. He's survived by his wife and 2 children. And we have info on how you can donate to help his family on thedenverchannel.com.
Well, the Castle Rock community is in mourning tonight after 2 teenagers were killed and 2 others were hurt in a crash involving a drunken driver.
This crash happened Friday night. There's already been an outpouring of support from the community for the victims' families.
Denver 7's Patrick Perez tonight from Castle Rock.
Flowers now mark the spot where a tragedy Friday night changed the lives of 4 Castle Rock families and shocked the community.
We hurt for the community and for our dear friend, and it was an utter shock.
State troopers say just before midnight, a drunk driver crashed into a car carrying 4 teens. This happened near I-25 Frontage Road and Territorial Road. 2 teens, Colton Bellamy and Audrey Todd, died. 2 others, Maddie Tobler and an unidentified teen, are recovering from their injuries.
It's your worst nightmare. I literally think that's my worst nightmare as a parent.
Since the tragedy, the Castle Rock community has stepped up, as it always does, to help the families of the victims.
I think we checked it within an hour, and we're just absolutely blown away by the donations from everybody and just how quickly the news had spread.
Aubrey Besant and Meredith Gilbert helped create the GoFundMe for Maddie, who's the daughter of their close friend. In just a day, they've raised more than $37,000.
Never in my wildest dreams thought that, this community would just be so generous.
A GoFundMe for Audrey has also raised more than $10,000 in just a matter of hours. The 2 say strangers, even teens, are donating as much as they can to help out.
And you have these children who want to spend their allowance, like our kids, are like, I want to put all of my money in. And you're like, okay, we'll get it in there for you. And they really want to do it.
A fundraiser for all 4 families is happening Sunday morning at Castleview High, where all 4 teens attended. The group Dads of Castle Rock is hosting an all-you-can-eat pancake and sausage breakfast for $10 a person.
At the end of the day, it's like we're one community and we all care for each other and we all hurt and we all mourn the losses.
You can head over to thedenverchannel.com right now for a link to those GoFundMes. We'll also keep you posted if we learn of any other fundraisers the community is putting on. In Castle Rock, I'm Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
What a loss. If you'd like to show your support for these families, there's a candlelight vigil scheduled for Wednesday night, 8 o'clock at Philip S. Miller Park in Castle Rock.
For months, Denver 7 has reported on catalytic converter thefts plaguing Colorado. This is a problem that has increased more than 5,000% statewide between 2019 and 2021. Tonight, Denver City Council is taking another step toward addressing this issue. Council members introduced a bill that would require auto parts dealers and resellers purchasing secondhand converters to require a valid photo ID from the seller. They would also be required to take a photograph or otherwise copy down information from that ID. Dealers who buy converters must then report that purchase to law enforcement within 1 business day.
Today was the deadline to submit signatures for statewide measures before the general election. And there was one hot-button initiative that failed to make the cut. Initiative 61 aimed to decriminalize the use and gifting of psychedelics, such as mushrooms, without establishing a regulated market. It failed to receive the 125,000 signatures to be on the general ballot. However, and this is separate but similar proposal, it's called Initiative 58. It involves the legalization of psychedelic mushroom possession. So that one did pass. That will appear on your November ballot.
Frontier Airlines broke ground on a new project at DIA today. The ground boarding facility at Concourse A adds 5 new gates for the airline without jetways. So that means planes can be loaded and unloaded from the front and the back.
If you look at the scores that we get from an NPS perspective, where we ground load today is some of the best experiences that our customers have, because it's just so much faster. It cuts in half the amount of time that it takes to board and deplane the airplanes. And that's what people want to experience.
The company expects the project to be completed by the middle of 2024.
No one has done environmental sampling here in Colorado.
One Colorado classroom paving the way for future scientists while researching a rare lung disease.
It was really cool that we were the group that was able to pioneer it for our school and the rest of the state.
Rain's pretty much out of our forecast for the next few days. Instead, temperatures are going to be heating up fast.
Broncos training camp coming to a close. What to expect before Dallas comes to Denver, coming up in Denver 7 Sports.